It's time for the grand finale of this series. In this video, I'll go over everything you need to know regarding the strategies on the tracks in the Bell Cup. The track picking, item sets, power item spots, bomb spots, and the shock spots. So for the last time in this series, without further ado, let's start giving her, bud. Starting things off, we got Neo Bowser City. This is a pretty weird track because I feel like teams generally are evenly matched going into this track regardless of spots. However, I also think this track is very easy to run very early on. Conversely, shocks are pretty deadly here. So while I'd say this is a balanced track, you could definitely interpret it as a running track and maybe pick it for that reason. I just feel like a lot more variables come into play on this track, and that's what makes it a balanced track for me. In 66, you should pick this when you have one or two top 3 spots and quite a few middle spots. Pulling the early shrooms to come up quickly can make for an easy run under the right circumstances, while the highest spots will generally remain at the top. So in summary, while this can act as a running track, Neo Bowser City is a balanced track for the most part. You have 3 item sets on this track. Don't worry, this is the last video where you'll hear that from me. At the first set, you have 5 single boxes. As you would expect, nothing too special here, but make sure you can nail a box on lap 1 if you're starting in the middle. At the second set, you have 3 single boxes with a double box right of the very left box. While this is a tight set, this is a really important set. The upcoming section and the S-turn can be pretty chaotic, and the items that make these sections chaotic mostly come from this set. And at the last set, you have 3 single boxes with a double box on both the very left and right. This is a crucial set to get an item or two from, especially in a lap 3 situation. The most important shortcuts are right after the set, and considering how wide it is, make sure you get an item or two here. The golden is not the greatest here, but you can still take advantage of it. Begin goldening shortly after your Ultra Mini Turbo boost runs out after the S-turn. You'll be able to take both shortcuts, and your golden will run out a little before the first set. You may go a little wide on the final turn, but all around, this golden strat is pretty decent. Especially in a lap 3 situation, this star strat goes hard. Simply chain your start into the last set and take the 2 ending shortcuts. Being invincible when items are flying all over the place is a big time relief in any situation, but on this track, since you can take both ending cuts, it's a pretty big deal. And the Bill strat is pretty awesome. Activate your Bill where you'd begin a left drift after the second set. It'll take you through the entire S-turn and drop you off right after. If you're a Mario Kart 8 veteran, you definitely know how strong this Bill strat is, so take advantage of it. The bomb spots on this track are pretty good. Starting things off, back your bomb as you land from the first ramp. Your opponents will land into the bomb, so as long as they don't see it coming before tricking, you'll be given her. Another great bomb spot is pretty much anywhere on the S-turn. I personally like to back bombs after the first Super Mini Turbo since my opponents won't see it coming, on top of having next to no chance at avoiding it either way. Wherever you choose to back a bomb here, it'll probably cause some damage. And lastly, backing your bomb after the shortcut. When your opponents take the ending cut, they will get clapped up by the bomb if they don't plan for a potential bomb in advance. In a lap 3 situation, this bomb spot can easily win you or your team races. This shock spot is a really good one. By chaining your shock into the second set, you'll have to worry about next to nothing on the S-turn, on top of being one of the only people in the room with items going into the last set. There is quite a lot of track to go before the finish line, but that doesn't really matter since you'll be at such an advantage going into the end game of the race by having really good items on the S-turn while your opponents will have next to nothing. Chaining into the last set can work out, but second set gives you so much more time to catch up and is way more punishing on those who don't dodge. So take advantage of it. But with that, we're done with Neo Bowser City, so let's keep on giving her on Ribbon Road. Ribbon Road is a really fun track online. It's super fun to drive, and you can do some cool stuff with items as well. And while you can get away with running on this track, there is a good chunk of off-road to catch up, and shocks are super strong here, so this track is a balanced track. And it's much easier to interpret this as a balanced track and pick this if you feel like you don't have any other options. In 66, you should pick this when your spots are all over the place. It's an easy pick, and your middle and bottom spots can pull shrooms to catch up, while your top spots will generally remain in the front as long as they don't get hit. So with that being said, Ribbon Road is a balanced track. For the last time, there are 3 item sets on this track. That's a crazy thing to say, honestly. At the first set, you have 5 single boxes. As you should expect, this is your average first set. Again, make sure to nail an item here if you're starting in the middle or the back and shroom up before the anti-gravity section. At the second set, you have 3 single boxes with a double box on both the very left and right. While you can slow down to nail an item here, if you're giving her full throttle, you'll be drifting into this item set, so be careful, especially if you need a double box box. And the last set is kind of split up. By taking the second anti-gravity shortcut, you'll have access to a left double box and a right single box. By going around, you have access to 4 single boxes with a double box in the middle. However, most of the time you go wide, it's specifically to ensure you get 2 items, so make sure you can take the doubles here without too much difficulty if you want to maintain your position in the race. The golden strat on this track is pretty decent. Begin goldening as soon as you trick off the glider ramp. You'll be able to take the ending shortcut, and your golden will run out right after you cross the finish line. So it's pretty great, especially in a lap 3 situation. The star strat is pretty awesome. Simply chain your star into the last set and take the ending shortcut. Especially in a lap 3 situation, this star strat rocks, but this works regardless of your lap. And the bill strat really does feel like an extension. Activate your bill in the middle of the shortcut, and it'll take you all the way to the second straight after the boost ramp. That's all there is to it. It's pretty damn good. You have a few great bomb spots on this track. The first one works whether your opponents are taking the shortcut before second set or not, and that's backing your bomb right before the big left turn. This section is pretty tight, so unless your opponents have multiple shrooms, you'll be doing what you gotta do, bud. An amazing bomb spot involves backing your bomb on the first shortcut. Try to get your opponents early so they either can't use the boost ramp to get back up to speed instantly or even to hit them off. And lastly, if your opponents don't see this coming, backing your bomb before the ending shortcut does some serious damage. Assuming you're driving around the shortcut, screwing your opponents over before they can shroom up can work out really well in your favor. Of course, if you're far enough ahead, backing your bomb after the shortcut works too. Just know that if your bomb is exposed, your opponents might not find it too difficult to work around your bomb. Just keep that in mind if you plan on backing a bomb here. And the shock spot can do some serious damage under the right circumstances. There's quite a bit of track in between the last set and the finish line, so chaining into the last set is the way to go. You'll very likely target shock some people, and for those you don't target shock, you'll probably just take the ending shortcut to pass them. This shock spot can really work out in 6v6, but just know that falling off and respawning after the glider section is an easy way for your opponents to dodge, and it's even viable if you have multiple shrooms, just to be safe. But yeah, generally, this shock spot rocks. With that, we're finished with Ribbon Road, so let's keep things rolling on Super Bell Subway. I am not a fan of Super Bell Subway. I feel like most people do, or at least should agree with me here. At least online that is, since this track is just weird. And while that usually defines balanced track, I'd say this track is a bagging track. It's just so easy to profit by using items in numerous patches of off-road and the big shortcuts on this track. In 6v6, I don't know, maybe just like one top spot and a ton of bottom spots? Look, this track is just weird, but it acts as a bagging track. In reality, your starting spots have no relevance towards how races evolve on this track. I say just win. I don't know about you. But yeah, altogether, Super Bell Subway is a bagging track. This is another reason why this is such a weird track. On top of there being 4 item sets, you also have random pairs of item boxes in 3 different places. Anyway, at the first set, you have 5 single boxes. It's the classic, but the bagging begins at this set as you would expect. At the second set, you have 4 single boxes with a double box left of the very right box. It's important to keep in mind that the 2 single boxes right of the very left box won't be available to you when the train comes through, so just keep that in mind. Also, there's a pair of boxes on the wide path with there being a double box on the left and a single box on the right. Before the third set, by taking the right path, you can find another pair of items with a single box on the left and a double box on the right. Anyway, at the third set, you have 4 single boxes with a double box right of the very left box. Again, the train can block you from getting the 2 single boxes left of the very right box. And by taking the left path, you can find a double box on the left and a single box on the right. Finally, at the last set, you have 4 single boxes with 2 double boxes next to the very left and right boxes. Look, I'm just ready to move on from the item sets at this point since this track has too many. Just make sure you can get an item or 2 here in hopes that you pull a shroom for the ending shortcut. The golden strat on this track is pretty awesome. Begin goldening in the off-road after the second set. You'll be able to golden through that off-road, the off-road on the next turn, and the off-road that lets you cut off the big turn. Your golden will run out shortly after, so this golden strat is great. There are 2 star strats I'd like to go over here. The first one is chaining your star into the second set. I feel like with the trains in a lap 3 situation, this star strat is pretty good. It'll last a little after passing the third set. The other star strat is chaining your star into the last set. In a lap 3 situation, this is absolutely the star strat to rely on since you can take the ending shortcut and the ending can be super chaotic. Your star will run out as you cross the finish line. So yeah, lap 3 situation there, bud. And while the bill strat is straightforward, it works. Activate your bill in the ending shortcut and it'll drop you off on the turn before the second set. It might be a bit of a weird landing, so if you plan on pushing forward rather than bagging, try using your bill as soon as you can. you have a couple solid bomb spots on this track. Don't worry, the second last time I'm saying that. Anyway, getting right down to it, back your bomb before the first ramp. This straight is pretty tight, and if you catch your opponents by surprise, there is no way they're getting out of this one. Another awesome bomb spot involves backing your bomb on the second turn after the second set. This is another tight section, so unless your opponents are already shrooming, they'll be in for a surprise, no doubt about that. If your opponents see it coming, this bomb spot kinda stinks. But if they take the right staircase, it's pretty awesome and they're going to get hit. Back your bomb before the boost ramp. This is the tightest bomb spot in the game. If your opponents take this path, there's no way they're avoiding this bomb, so take advantage of it. And lastly, backing your bomb in the ending shortcut. Taking the shortcut shroomless is faster than going around, so by backing your bomb in this shortcut, not only is it a win for you since you're saving time over driving around, but you'll also screw over anyone who wants to shroom up. Yeehaw, bud! Now, this shock spot is a little weird, and you could definitely shock somewhere else if it's situationally better for you, but I think you can make the most out of chaining shock into the second set. You're shocking your opponents after boxes where they could otherwise shroom through the upcoming patches of off-road, including the massive one that cuts off the big turn. It's a pretty good one, but again, a bit of a weird one. If you chain into the third set, I'm not sure how much you'd benefit by doing so, considering boost panels before the last set are a thing if your opponents are far ahead, and you might not have enough time to catch up by chaining shock into last set. Either way, just do what you think will help you out best. I'm just trying to help a butt or two out. Anyway, Super Bell Subway has been covered, so for the last time, let's finish strong on Big Blue. It's time to close this series out. Big Blue, yet again, is a weird track online. Even though there aren't that many shroom shortcuts on this massive track, there are still opportunities to catch up, just as much as there are to break away. So I'd say this is a balanced track. I can say with confidence that this is a track where you can make waves if you need to get a big race on. Big Blue spots, baby! In 66, just pick this whenever you feel like it. Spots going into the race don't impact the race itself that much, at least as far as I know, so you can run anything and still be Giviner. Unless you have like bottom 6 or something, that's just kind of ridiculous. It's usually the team that plays the best who wins on this track, since you won't have any advantages here. So with that being said, Big Blue is a balanced track. On Section 1, you'll go through 3 item sets. The first set is nothing special as per usual, with there being 6 single boxes. The second set is split up by the 2 paths. By taking the bottom and faster path, you have access to 5 single boxes with a double box right of the 2 left boxes. And by taking the top path, you have access to 3 single boxes with a double box right of the very left box. And at the last set on Section 1, you have 4 single boxes with 2 double boxes, one next to the very left box and the other next to the very right box. You can't back up for an item or 2 here, so keep that in mind when you tackle this item set. On Section 2, you should only go through 1 item set. You skip the first set on this section, and you should almost never aim for this item set, but on both paths, you have 3 single boxes with a double box right of the very left box. Again, it is way faster and almost always worth it to take the shortcut and skip this item set. At the set you will go through on Section 2, you have 4 single boxes with 2 double boxes, one next to the very left box and the other next to the very right box. Again, you can't back up for an item here, so make sure you get the most out of this item set if you need to. It's also worth noting that this is a cannon set, so you could pull some insanely broken items for your spot. On Section 3, you can go through up to 3 item sets, but if you're running, you'll most likely only go through 2 item sets. At the first set, you have 4 single boxes with a double box in the middle. This is a critical item set, especially since it's the first set after the cannon. The second set is split up by the 2 paths, but either way, you have 2 single boxes with a double box on the left. Keep in mind that these paths are super tight, so things can get hectic in the pack. And at the last set, technically on each path, you have 2 single boxes with a double box in the middle. While you may have to reduce how valuable the ending shroomless shortcut is to get an item or 2 from this set, it can be very beneficial if you don't have items going into the last few turns. The golden strat on this track is pretty basic. Just begin goldening after the final shroomless shortcut and you'll be good to go. Your golden will run out just before crossing the finish line, so you already know you can vibe with this one to finish the race. I'll once again go over 2 star strats here, and they're at the last 2 sets, so you could maybe even chain invincibility. First of all, chain your star into the second last set. This one is good because you're starting on the tightest section on the track, so you'll be good to go no matter what. And chaining your star into the last set can help a lot since you can just drive straight, and your star will run out a little before crossing the finish line. Yes, sir! The bill strat really can't be any good because you'll likely pull one at the cannon set, and there aren't any really good spots to use your bill. So I just bill as soon as you're about to trick off the first ramp on Section 3. While you'll pass the first set, you will also get dropped off after what could have been a very stressful turn, which is always reassuring. So while this bill strat isn't the greatest, at least it does something good. Alright. we got a couple bomb spots to go over here. I doubt you'll pull a bomb on the first half of section 1, but if you pull one on the glider set, backing your bomb before the first shroomless shortcut could really screw some people over and give you a big time lead. While it is a wide section, you lose a lot of time by not taking the shortcut, so it helps a lot. Another great bomb spot is right before the first ramp on section 3. By placing the bomb right before the ramp, it'll actually be in somewhat of a tight spot, so you can screw some people over, no doubt about that. Now here's a really good bomb spot. Back your bomb right before the second last set, and if the opponent's right behind you already committed to taking the right path, they'll get screwed big time. That's just the way she goes, bud. And if you pull a bomb from that set, backing your bomb before the final shroomless cut is a solid strat. While boost panels are right there, in an endgame situation, you can make some waves that could pay off in the end. And for the last bomb spot, backing your bomb at the start of the final straight. Not only could you screw people over who aren't shrooming, but people who are shrooming could run right into the bomb by surprise. If you pull a bomb from the last set, this bomb spot is the way you want to go. If you pull a shotgun this track, you'll probably pull it from the cannon set. At this point, you only have a few options, but I'd say the best shock spot out of the 3 sets on section 3 is at the first set. You could screw people over on that turn, and you have a ton of time to catch up before everyone is big again. Chaining shock into the second set might not be as good because of the boost panels, and chaining shock into the last set might not give you enough time to capitalize on the shock, but if you're close enough, that might be the way to go. But not only is chaining into the first set the option that gives you the most benefits in most scenarios, but you also are using it early, so you likely won't get shocked by someone else. Anyway, with that, we have finished everything you need to know in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I hope you got something out of this series. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And wow, it's over. We've covered the driving and strategies on every track in this game. I haven't officially talked about this in a video yet, so I suppose this would be a good time to start. Tune in on May 15th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, my usual upload time, where I'll premiere the next era of my channel. I previously referred to it as an update video, but I believe this video is much more than that. You'll learn about my new series, my new upload schedule, what's to come next, and a ton of very exciting announcements. I'm not kidding when I say you do not want to miss it. Also, join my Discord server. Just do it, because things are going to get real after May 15th. I'll also be making a Discord channel summarizing each component of my video, as well as offering links where necessary. I hope you all tune in, because it's going to be one hell of a day. So for the last time in this series, thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and keep on giving her, bud.